What's up, guys? We're back with a quick bonus segment for this week's factory tour. I'm still here with Mike, aka Dynasty Zoltan, and we're going to just talk about some Dynasty buys real quick. We both have two players that we want to talk about, one that we're buying low, one that we're actually willing to buy high or pay up for a little bit after this week one. My first guy, a buy, I'll start with my buy high because I'm very excited. I actually bought him in a league today, is Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers, rookie wide receiver for the Ravens, absolutely exploded onto the scene week one, 46% target share. He was just absolutely peppered. He had 9 receptions in the game, and he was actually the first read on 60% of the Ravens passing plays. That comes courtesy of the fantasy points data suite. I'm very high on him. I wasn't super high on him heading into the season. I kind of was at market with him, but I'm willing to rapidly change my stance on Zay Flowers. I traded today 2 seconds, a third, and Rashid Shaheed to add him in one of my leagues. And I thought that was pretty cheap. So where are you at with Flowers after week one? Is he a guy you're willing to buy? Is he moving up for you?
He is definitely moving up for me, but that's mostly because I was too low on him. I do have some concerns, however. I love that he saw such a high target share. I love that he was on the field for the 2 wideout sets. My issue was that it was a weird game without Mark Andrews, and he only had 28 air yards on 10 targets. That screams to me it's a lot of manufactured touches, which are known to be a little bit less sticky over time, especially when a guy like Andrews is back in there. So my question for you, you're buying high. How high?
Yeah, that is the question, isn't it? Well, I have seen some crazy stuff of like trading Drake London for Zay Flowers. I'm not that high, but I have moved him ahead of Quentin Johnston. I'd rather have him than DJ Moore, Michael Pittman. I'd rather have him than I'd be moving him into kind of that like early 5th round range of startups, where he's right there with Jordan Addison. I think he's worth a little more than like a first round like your average first round pick, like probably like a mid first.
Yeah.
That's where I'd be willing to pay, which is more than he was worth a couple of weeks ago. And so it's like sometimes it feels bad to buy those players when you really feel like you've missed the boat. But I think that there's still more potential for growth there.
Yeah, I think that's about right. That's pretty much where I'd have him as well.
All right, well, I'm going to kick it over to you. You can start with either one you want, a buy low or a buy high.
I'll start buy high as well, and mine is going to be Brock Purdy, a guy who, I'm just convinced. I'm convinced that he is a good NFL quarterback. He is really good at managing all of his weapons, and it obviously helps to have Shanahan back there. But my favorite stat for Brock Purdy, first of all, he was a quarterback 1 over the last 6 weeks of last season, and he has been unbelievable throwing to the middle of the field. Last year, he had an 80.4 completion percentage throwing to the intermediate area. And in week 1, he was 9 for 10 for 142 yards to the intermediate area of the field. Whereas we know George Kittle and Brandon Ayuk feast. Those numbers are courtesy of David Lombardi. So I am very in on Brock Purdy right now. If you can trade Desmond Ridder plus a little bit, try to trade Kenny Pickett for him. I'd be into trading a wide receiver like Jahan Dotson that I don't believe has a lot of upside. I'm in on Brock Purdy as a long-term starter.
I like that one. I was trying to scoop him up before the season because I just didn't see how he could really fail in this offensive environment.
Yeah.
He's just set up so well, and he does exactly the kind of thing that Shanahan's looking for. He's a really good, point guard type of quarterback. He's not going to make the big mistakes. He's just going to execute the offense, and so I think that's a good call because he's going to continue to perform in that offense. Not necessarily the highest upside, but when you're talking about a guy you can get pretty cheap and be kind of a set it and forget it QB2 for the season, that is a worthwhile investment for sure. I'm going to go ahead and give my buy low now. And I am cheating a little bit because I'm actually just going to call out rookie running backs in general. But more specifically, I'll talk Devin Achane, Zach Charbonnet, Kendre Miller. These are guys who basically didn't do anything in week 1. In the case of Miller and Achane, they literally didn't play. Achane was a healthy scratch, which is not obviously what you want, but he was dealing with an injury throughout the preseason, and he is a rookie, kind of overlaps with Raheem Mostert a little bit in terms of what he does. But I think we will see him on the field soon. Kendre Miller dealing with an injury. Charbonnet was just marginalized by Kenneth Walker in their first game together. But these are all talented players. They went on day 2 of the NFL draft. And I think they're going to see a dip for basically what is no reason. We always see rookies ramp up slowly, especially if they're kind of buried on a depth chart. But if you're just firing off on these rookie running backs whenever you can get a discount, you're going to win out in the long run because some of them are going to hit and some of them are going to hit in a big way. And so I just want to throw as many darts at that dartboard as I can.
Yeah, that's a great call. I mean, people are making all these excuses for why Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs have such low usage rates in their first games, but then they ignore the fact that it's happening to Charbonnet, Achane, Miller. Tank Bigsby's another guy I'll throw in there. The two next guys who didn't have that issue were Tajay Spears and Roshan Johnson. So those would not be buy lows, but I agree with you. Definitely buy as many young running backs as possible, especially after these opening weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Roshan and Spears, it looks like the time to buy them low was in rookie drafts when they were going late second, early third. At this point, cat's out of the bag. They have roles in the offense. So you want to look for those guys that are getting off to the slow starts and you just kind of cross your fingers with them. Why don't you close us out here with your buy low?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm going to skip the obvious ones in T. Higgins and Drake London and instead go to an under the radar player, Trey McBride. He did not get the starting role that I wanted. However, Zach Ertz had incredible usage. He had 10 targets, 29% target share there. And given the Cardinals' priorities this year, I do not see Zach Ertz being their number one target leader for the rest of the season. Maybe he gets hurt again. Maybe he gets traded. I could see them doing him a favor if a tight end gets hurt on another team and he needs to go fill in there. Trey McBride's time is coming and he can be had on the very cheap. Try sending out, 1/3 in a no tight end premium league, 2/3 in a tight end premium league. This guy was tight end 15 in a lot of dynasty rankings heading into the season. You can get him on the real cheap right now.
Yeah, this one has me a little uneasy because I'm not totally convinced that he's actually any good. The fact that Zach Ertz returned from like a pretty bad injury at his age and immediately supplanted him despite being like the most inefficient tight end on planet Earth is like a little bit concerning, but I totally get the thesis there. This is a young tight end who was drafted highly, who could find himself in a high volume role sooner than later. So at that price, I definitely agree that it's worth looking into. I would try to throw out a little bit extra and go get Greg Dulcich instead. But
me too. Yeah, me too. And I think to dispute that Ertz point, Jonathan Gannon is the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals now. So I'm not gonna blame McBride for a decision that Jonathan Gannon made because I'm not sure he's making all the right calls there.
I'm not sure what's going on with Gannon, but he was in Philly with Ertz for a time. I think they overlapped there. So there's probably some rapport between them.
Some bias. Well.
Yeah. So that's a good point. So those are 2 buy lows, 2 buy highs. Buy high on Zay Flowers, buy high on, oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Who did you say?
I am blanking too. This is what happens when we record for this long. On Brock Purdy.
Right. Buy on Brock Purdy. We just talked about like 50 guys on the main show. So you can go check that out on Spotify. Zay Flowers, Brock Purdy, rookie running backs, and Trey McBride. Those are your dynasty buys. That's your homework for the week. Go get it done. And I will see you guys next time on the Factory Tour.